Okay, we are live. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Miss G, Miss Georgette Truin. Hello, Miss G. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. And we have a very special guest tonight, Miss Tracy Perez. Miss Perez, how are you this evening?
Good.
Very good. Very good. Now, I assume, Tracy, that you have some involvement or had involvement with CPS.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, tell us where are you? Where are you from?
Salem, Oregon.
Salem, Oregon. Okay. What county is that up there?
I'm in Marion County, but my case is in Washington County.
Okay. How far is that from Deschutes County?
About, I want to say maybe 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, that's all. Okay. A couple years ago, I did a case up in Deschutes, in Bend, Oregon.
Oh, Bend. Okay, Bend. I didn't know what you did. Bend is like 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay. You know, we had somebody from Oregon the other day on it, and we were talking about Bend, how beautiful it was.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty there.
Is it snowing there where you are right now?
Not yet. It's really cold though. Really cold.
Like, what's really cold?
Like it's like 20 and it feels like 14.
Well, it's 50 here, and it's really cold to me.
California's nice.
20 degrees and it feels like 14. Oh my God. You must have to stay in the house. Just you can't
Yeah.
go anywhere. Can't go anyplace.
Not at night. It's too cold.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you tell me, maybe in chronological order, what's been going on with you and CPS up in Oregon?
Let's see. In 2016, I had a child and I didn't know I was pregnant. So yes, I was using drugs, but then I stopped and they separated her father, and it's not even her biological father, but he signed her birth certificate and made it so, like you said, they try to separate the parents. And it was my first involvement, so I didn't know, and they did separate us. And he got custody of my daughter. And now, 6 years later, I was told by him and my lawyer that what did he say? That he didn't have no rights to her, that he had all the choices. Well, come to find out, he just got her taken like I want to say 7 or 8 months ago, and they contacted me, mind you, not on my phone. They investigated enough to get my friend's phone number, not mine, and called me on his phone and told me that they had an open investigation. So I said, okay. And then the next day I talked to them and they said that I could go get her. So I was like, okay, well, can I have the address? And the guy said, well, I need a drug test from you. And I'm like, why? I'm not the parent you're looking at. I'm the non-offending. You just said I could go get her. And then he changed his mind and said, well, if you don't want to do the drug test, then we are going to do things a different way. And then the next thing I know, she was in custody. So, and now here we are 7 months later, and I have a paper about they want to give permanent guardianship to her babysitter. And I don't understand what this means. It says it's in the best interest of the ward that the mother and father never have physical custody of the ward, but the other parental rights and duties should not be terminated. That don't make no sense.
Well, I think that's legal speak for they're going to let the person keep legal guardianship of the child, but keep your parental rights intact. How old is the child?
She'll be 7 in June.
And I bet you have a very good relationship with her.
Well, I mean, her dad wouldn't barely let me see her, and that's another thing they're trying to say, that I'm not fit, that I'm not wanting to change my way. They don't even know nothing about me. Like, I've never had her like physically like more than 2 months at a time, because he would tell me, oh, you can't have her. He would pay his power trips with me. And then when I went to go to court, the judge told me, you never lost your current custody rights to her. He must have like lied to you. And I'm like, well, that's great. So I'm getting cheated out. And now they're trying to throw stuff in because they couldn't throw in the drug use. because that was on the first petition. Mind you, I have not signed any papers for them at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. They've never been in my house. Nothing. And now they're trying to put this that it's unfit and that I won't ever be stable and all. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't even know. Frustrating.
Do you have a lawyer that's court appointed to you defending your rights?
Yeah, but it's the same person I had the first time, and I don't care for that person. So I don't even know. I want somebody that's gonna fight for me. Obviously, their court appointed ones won't really fight for you, I should say, because they're paid by the state. They're gonna do what the state wants them to do at the end of time.
Have you tried to work with that person, or
Yeah,
are you thinking about hiring a private attorney?
that's what I want to do, but I just want to make sure I get somebody that's gonna really work for me, for
Mm-hmm.
my daughter.
Ms. G, what do you think about that?
um, I'm sorry. I was texting a client when you were telling Davis how you got in that position. Was it somebody that reported you, or your ex, or?
My ex, he had custody. He has custody supposedly, but I guess he never got full custody. But he had her in his custody, and they told me on the phone that they had went to go see him various times and never taken her, kept leaving her saying she was fine until like when that time they just decided to take her. I don't understand.
So you're okay. So your ex is the one that reported you. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, no, I don't have her. Somebody reported him. She got
Oh,
taken out of his custody.
right. And so you were not living with him.
No,
So why isn't the child with you again?
because they're trying to bring up the past case when she was first born about the drug use, and since they can't use that because they can't take a drug test, obviously if they can't prove it, which they would never prove anyways, they now they're trying to say because I don't have a proper place to live or some cried like that. I have the paper right here.
Proper what? I'm sorry.
Hold on, I'll tell you. Hold on. Lack of efforts to adjust the parent's circumstances, conduct, or conditions to make return of the child to the parent possible with a reasonable time. Failure to effect a lasting adjustment of reasonable efforts. And see, that's what I mean. How could they say that? They've never been to my house. They've never nothing.
And okay, I don't. They do this with everybody, Tracy. Apparently, I mean, it's an ongoing chaos they create in people's lives, parents' lives. But it's
Was
the
there
Just trying to start.
the attorney should have done something the minute he or she took your case. But I don't know, Mr. Davis. I really don't know what to say.
He told me to sign the contract or whatever. I'm not signing anything because
Mhm.
I didn't do nothing.
You
well,
mean you wanted to sign a safety plan? Is that? I'm sorry to
They
interrupt.
wanted me to sign like, but like I guess that's what it was. But like for I don't even know what it was because I didn't even.
it was
I was like
probably
I just told them.
a case plan for reunification, and the court ordered, and apparently you agreed, maybe, to do a certain type of reunification plan,
Mhm.
and
Nope.
you can't get the child back unless you complete the reunification plan that was court ordered.
Exactly. They wanted me to do drug testing and all this. They cannot do that if they don't have proof in the first place, which it wasn't even about me. It was about her father. And another thing, that's not, like I said, that's not even her biological father. He's on the birth certificate, but he's not her biological father.
Well,
So
did your attorney advise you had to do the case plan?
he just told me to sign any paperwork for, I'm not signing. I learned my lesson. I'm not signing anything for them ever. I
Okay,
won't.
but Tracy, I'm trying to ask you a question, and if you don't
What?
know the answer to the question, it's okay. But was there a court-ordered case plan that you were supposed to do?
I never saw it, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I can tell you that there is, and the fact that you didn't see it, that's not good at all.
Mhm.
What you should do is you should contact your attorney and make sure that you know what the case plan is. And if you haven't appealed it, that case plan is written in stone and you have to comply with it in order to get the child back. I know you don't want to do it, but if you want the child back, that's what you're going to have to do at this late stage in the game.
You know, I don't know. I don't understand because I don't know what it has to. I just don't understand what this case even has to do with me. Like, I don't know. I'm
Probably
confused.
nothing. Probably nothing. And you and your attorney may have or should have filed some type of appeal or had some type of trial.
Hmm.
But it
Well,
seems
with this right here, if I lose, I'm gonna appeal this because nobody else is taking my child. I don't know.
Miss
I need,
G.
I need, yeah. How far are
Yeah.
you? How far are you in the case right now, Tracy?
They're trying to give guardianship to the babysitter. Yeah, the babysitter.
What county is this in, or state?
Oregon.
Oregon.
I see. You know what? One of the problems we have here, Miss G, is that she doesn't know if there's a case plan, and there is, and she doesn't know what she's supposed to do in order to get the child back that's on the case plan. And one of the things that's on the case plan, which she said was drug testing, and she said she's not going to drug test. Now, I'm not saying what the judge ordered was good or bad. It's just that he or she ordered it and you have to do it. And then if you don't want to do it, you have to file an appeal. But if you didn't file an appeal and win the appeal, you have to do what's on the case plan in order to get the child back. And no matter what you do or say or think about this, you're not going to get the child back unless you comply with that case plan. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. But how could they have me? How can they have me do drug tests if they don't even have proof that I ever did drugs, which I haven't touched since she was born?
okay, you're absolutely correct. The problem is that that case plan became a court order that you never appealed. In other words, you never objected to it officially.
Well,
Therefore,
then how come my lawyer never sent it to me? Not even email, nothing.
that I can't tell you. That I can't tell you why your lawyer did or didn't do anything. But the bottom line is it doesn't matter at this point. If you want that child back, you got to find out what the case plan is and comply with it.
But is it too late to comply with the case plan now? Because I was told.
No, no.
Okay.
You know why? Because they're not recommending termination of her rights.
Hmm.
They're recommending guardianship. So she could do the case plan a year from now and get the child back.
Hmm.
Or she could do it now and try to get the child back.
Can she open up the case in family court a year from now?
No. Because if the case, well, I'm going to tell you what happens in California. If the juvenile court issues a order and judgment for legal guardianship, only the juvenile court can change that. Family law court is where it's parent versus parent, okay, after the juvenile case. In this particular case, it's not parent versus parent. It's parent versus the court or parent versus CPS.
But she can get modification where she can visit the child, correct? In family court, or does she still have to go to CPS court?
Still would have to go to CPS.
Okay.
So Crystal or Royal is saying, making a comments, follow the case plan. Now, Terry, I want you to understand something. I'm not saying that the case plan is righteous.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that at all. It's probably not. The problem is that it became a court order that you never appealed. And if you didn't know to appeal, that responsibility falls on your shoulders. I've said this many times on this show, and it's something that I learned my first year of law school. Our laws are based upon what's called the English common law. Okay. And one of the foundations of the English common law is, and this is very harsh, is ignorance is no excuse. So the fact that you're telling me you didn't know, I believe you. The problem is that's not going to get you anything. So at the ultimate level, you and I and Georgette and every other person that has a CPS case, ultimately you're responsible to figure stuff out or to learn or to get an attorney that will guide you correctly. You know, I never mentioned this to you, Miss G, but that's one of the reasons why I started doing this channel. Because so many people would tell me, oh, I didn't know that. Who was supposed to tell me that? There's no way that these parents and relatives can know what the CPS law is without a little guidance from an attorney. There are attorneys that don't know what's going on in CPS courts.
Had you hired a private attorney as juvenile dependency attorney from the beginning, Tracy, you would have had a better chance. But what people do is they start talking to the social workers first. They start defending them. I mean, justifying themselves or convincing them they're good parents or what have you. Once you open your mouth to them, you're pretty much have a losing chance with them. But when you hire a juvenile dependence attorney from the beginning before the kids were removed, then you, like I said, you have a better chance to fight for your rights.
But
Not
even if, excuse me, even if, like, if I follow a case plan, that's saying that I'm guilty of their
No,
charges.
no, no, no. And I'm glad you said that because I hear that so many times. That is not accurate, Tracy. Now, you may
Okay.
feel that way in your heart of hearts, but that is not the law. It's not the law.
well, CPS doesn't follow the law either, Mr. Davis.
Well, it doesn't matter. You want to win or you want to be right.
No, I get that part, but
Well,
I
you
understand
can't
what
you
he's.
can't you can't get that part if you say something like that.
No. I
Well,
understand your point, but what I'm saying is CPS doesn't really. I have to throw it out there because they
we're
don't
not talking
follow the
about
law.
CPS. We're not talking about CPS.
Right,
We're talking about this lady getting her kids back through the juvenile court system.
right, and
And who cares what CPS says or does? Ultimately, it's on our shoulders as parents to get our children back. And that is to understand what the law is, at least generally. And she said that if she files the case plan, that's an admission of her guilt. And that is absolutely false.
the
Now,
only time you admit your guilt is if they tell you admit to your guilt in writing. Admit that you did this, admit that you're the cause of this. Then yes, that's admitting to a guilt, something you didn't do. That's what you shouldn't sign. Am I right, Attorney Davis?
correct. So, Tracy, look, you may have been misrepresented. You may have been made mistakes. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But the fact is, there's a case plan. You haven't done it, and no judge in all the world is going to give you the kid back. Not going to happen.
Okay. And then
Now,
I have one more question. Can I
what?
ask you one more question?
After I finish.
Okay.
Now, you can get the kid back by complying with the case plan. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't want to. I know you don't like it. I know you think that it's admitting guilt, which it's not. But I'm here to tell you how to win. That the name of this show is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. It's not how to vindicate yourself and be right. It's not how to solve the problems in the world about CPS. That's not what this show is about. Now, there could be other shows that deal with those issues, and they'll be righteous shows. But my show is about how to try to win. Period. End of story.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know how long me and Miss G been working together, but this is something relatively new to Miss G. And Miss G now admits, there is a difference between winning and being right. And generally, in these types of cases, in most cases, You can't have both. It would be nice if you could have both, but generally you can't have both. Let's just win and get the kids back and then figure out if we're going to sue anybody after. But get
Yeah.
the kids back. You know, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you. I'm currently representing a client at our office, and she hired us, paid us a lot of money. And one of the things I told her was, don't talk to the social worker without me.
Mm-hmm.
Day goes by, I'm talking to her, and she says, oh, when I talk to the social worker, blah, blah, blah. I said, I thought I told you don't talk to the social worker. Oh, yeah, you told me that, Mr. Davis. I'll
And I
follow
told
you.
her that too.
I'll follow you. Day goes by again. She tells me, oh, I talked to the social worker yesterday. And then it happens again. And finally, I tell her, I say, hey, you know what? I said, I probably would guess that you hired me because you thought I was an expert at this. She said, yeah, that's why I hired you. I said, do you recall me telling you on more than one occasion, don't talk to social workers unless I'm present or on the phone?
Yeah.
She said, yeah, I do remember that. I said, well, why do every day I talk to you, you tell me you've talked to the social worker in a different conversation? I said, I've counted 3 or 4 social workers since you conversations with social workers since you hired me. And she, she had excuses and this and that and this and that. So finally I told her, I said, look, if we don't win this case, don't ask me why, because it's going to be because you don't follow my advice. And that's okay. In the old days, I used to get upset with clients. Now, if I tell you 2 or 3 times and you don't do what I suggest, it's okay. It's your life, your family. You do what you want to do. But Miss G, how many people call you daily and tell you, oh, you know what? I talked to you a year ago. I should have followed Mr. Davis's advice or your suggestions, and I didn't. And now I'm all effed up in my case, and now I want to hire you. How many
Mm-hmm.
times did you get that call, Miss G?
Oh my God. Just from last year,
You were
this
telling
year
me
about 18 times at least.
you were telling me something about some guy today, and you were like flabbergasted that he was saying this.
I was
And
upset with him
and
actually.
and when you told me about it, I was like, well, whatever, you know,
He lost his wife lost her parental rights,
right. Well,
and he still has a chance, and he still
the bottom
thinks
line, the bottom
miracles
line,
are going to happen. Yeah.
the bottom line is this, Tracy, and I'm going to tell you this, and you might think this is harsh. I can lead you to the water. I can't make you drink.
Yeah.
Okay, I can lead you there. All right, I can't make you drink, and if you decide not to drink, it's okay. But don't complain to me afterwards. Hey, why didn't we win the case? Well, you didn't win because you didn't listen to what I said. You
Yeah.
didn't win because you couldn't accept what I was saying. A lot of people tell me, I don't understand. Mr. Davis, I don't understand. The truth is, you understand, you just don't like it.
Yeah.
You don't like it. And I get it.
No. Some people really don't understand. Like I was, it was hard for me to understand you, and I think because your strategy, you're thinking to a normal person that's not an attorney, your strategy doesn't make sense. But when you do follow your strategy, when the client follows your strategy, there is better results. That's all I'm
Here's the thing. Think about this for a second. People call me and hire me. Okay. Some people do exactly what I advise.
saying. Hmm.
Some people don't.
Hmm.
Some people do the exact opposite, and then some people do a little bit of this and a little bit of that,
Hmm.
right? It's difficult. I can't beat you into submission to follow my advice. You're a grown woman, right? If I tell you ABC and you decide to do XYZ, that's on you. I can't stay up at night wondering why Miss G won't do what I tell her.
Hmm.
Okay? If I did that with every case that I had, I'd go crazy. I'd
Mm,
literally go crazy
mm,
because everybody's got a different story. Everybody thinks differently about these cases. Everybody has a different sense of justice.
mhm. A lot of people want revenge. I hear that a lot. I want revenge on the
You
social
can you can have it
worker.
after you get your children back.
Right.
After you get your children back.
Hmm. And there's something I need to actually share with you guys, all of you guys, hopefully millions of people. We have a client that sent an email to the social worker, and he CC'd me and Mr. Davis on the email. It was regarding her visitation. I'm not going to say her name, obviously, or the county, but she said, I can have my own supervisor. I think that's what she meant to say, but it was worded different. With none of you demands, quotes, if you restrict the rights by court order, I have the right to sue you in court. I have attached my attorney and associate that will be pushing action against you. I wait for your response. Now, I know damn well Davis didn't tell her to do that. And I actually replied to the email and I said to her only and to Davis, and I said, why in the hell did you do that? Why would you say that? That's not going to help you on your case. When you retaliate against them that way, that's not going to help you. And you're putting it in writing. Just because you have Davis, you have our law firm, it doesn't mean it's a pass for you to screw up your own case. You have an attorney. Why would you respond? So if your attorney, you have an attorney, all you have to do is let your attorney know there's no visitation today, Attorney Davis. What can we do about this? That's it. No need to threaten, say you're going to sue them and all that. Can't hear you.
Ms. G, you're absolutely right.
It's
But
crazy. I
I
can't get over it.
I need to put this up on the screen though.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Lee Soderstrom, who's watching us on YouTube. She says, here's what I learned from Vince, don't go after CPS. Compliance gets the kids back. Linda Lee, you're absolutely wrong. If that's what you got from me,
Mm-hmm.
I apologize because I haven't been clear. Okay? Here's what I want to tell you, Linda Lee. The strategy you use depends on 2 or 3 different factors. Depends on what you're charged with, depends on the stage of the case.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in module 1, module 3, module 5, module 6? Because it's all different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's not what I'm telling you, Linda Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I ever use that strategy? Yes. I just told Tracy, our guest tonight, to use that strategy. But it is because of the procedural posture and the stage of her case and the different facts she told me. Linda Lee, that is not a winning strategy on every case at every stage of the case. Is it a strategy? Yes, it is. Is it the best strategy? It depends on a lot of things. Okay? I just wanted to mention this to you. All right. And then Deet says, can I give you my phone number? Can Mr. Davis see our comment? I want to talk to him. Deet, my phone number appears on this screen, bottom right there in the corner. You probably can't see my scroller.
I have her information. I know who she is. I
888-6582.
Okay.
All right. Now, before we go too much more into these comments, I'm getting a hell of a lot
Yeah.
of comments from different social media platforms. And Tracy, I think you can see them too. It's going crazy.
Yeah.
Tracy, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask me this evening?
Yeah, I have two.
Go
The
ahead.
first one was the CPS worker, mind you, I live in Marion County and they're in Washington County. They showed up at my door a couple of weeks ago, knocking on the door. I opened the door and he's like, "Can we come in and talk to you? We're just in the neighborhood or in town and we thought we'd drop by." And I said, no, my lawyer's not here and I'm not talking to you. And I was like, "Goodbye." And I shut the door in his face. Was I wrong to do that?
Well, if your case was in California, under California law, you're not wrong. So I'm going to answer that question. You're not wrong. But were there maybe alternative strategies that might have been better? Maybe. I don't know. You see, here's another thing that you have to consider. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, how are you doing in this case? You're probably a 1 or a 0, right? So, they
Yeah,
say, you say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I've said this
that's what
many
I
times.
find.
I've said this many times. These cases are won outside of the courtroom, okay, by things that you should do. Now,
Mm.
one of the things you might want to do is call your attorney. Ask your attorney for some advice, and if the attorney says, no, don't meet with them, don't meet with them. But if your attorney says, yeah, meet with them, call the guy up and invite him back over. All right. Have
They
one of the things that people do in business, and I know you know this. Let's say you and I were doing business together, buying and selling widgets. At some point in time, I might take you out to lunch. I might buy you a beer, right? That's how people interact with each other in business. A lot of people think you shouldn't do that with social workers. Now, I'm not saying that you should on every case or with every social worker, but I was talking to someone today. I was in court, and they were telling me a story about an older attorney who I happen to know, about how this attorney, when he went to court, he would buy um, snacks and stuff for all of the staff in the courtroom. And I remember when I started, there were a lot of attorneys who would bring a dozen donuts to court, for the court staff. And I can tell you for sure that guy's case never got screwed up. Now, I'm not saying he won every case, but, as far as clerical things and being called first and, getting out of there early, he was, he had some edges over guys like me who never bought donuts for anybody, right? So there's something in psychology called reciprocity. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay. So there is only about 6 ways, maybe 7, but 6 ways that you can convince somebody to do something. Okay.
Mhm.
One of the ways, and this is the number 2 way, it's called reciprocity. And reciprocity is giving something to someone when you don't have to. You're probably too young to remember this, but there used to be a group of people, religious people, at the that would come to you in airports and train stations, and they were called the Hare Krishna.
Hmm.
You're too young for that. Miss G, are you too young for that as well?
I
Probably.
don't
I think, yeah, you're probably too young. But it's outlawed now. But what they would do is they would approach you and they would hand you like a little flower. Usually it was a little weed that they just picked up outside. They would hand you this flower and then ask for a donation.
Mm. Oh
About
yeah, okay, yeah.
about 75% of the time, 80% of the time, you would have to give them something
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
because
I know what you're talking about now. I
it's
remember.
called
Mhm.
it's a psychological law. It's the
Mhm.
law of reciprocity. They were so successful that they were outlawed. They can't they can't approach you now in the airports. But they use that as a major way of fundraising. Now, reciprocity is something that is unique to all 99.9% of the human beings. So sometimes if you are able to give, and it doesn't have to be something physical, it could be a smile, it could be a handshake, it could be something pleasant, a facial expression that you give someone, like a social worker. Subconsciously, sometimes the social worker may do something that favors you because it's a psychological law. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to work every time because it doesn't, but more times than not, it does work. So you might want to call them up and invite them over, for tea or something, to get to know you. And, they might have a certain vision about you and thoughts about you as a mother. But if you sit down with them in your home and have a pleasant conversation, maybe they'll change their mind.
Mhm.
I don't know because they like to twist your words. I don't.
Of course, I'm just saying. And
I
notice,
agree with
and
Tracy on that.
notice, Tracy, I used the word maybe. I didn't say
Mhm.
they would. But here's what the advanced people do. Okay, and when I'm talking to people, I can tell where they are on a scale
Mhm,
of sophistication and influence. If
mhm,
they're using the 6 psychological laws of influence, okay, believe it or not, you can influence a person. I'll give you an example. Do you remember? You might be too young for this one, but do you remember an heiress named Patty Hearst?
Mhm.
The Hearst newspapers and television stations and radio stations. Well, he had a granddaughter named Patty Hearst, and Patty Hearst was kidnapped by an offshoot militant faction of the Black Panthers called the Symbionese Liberation Army.
mhm.
She was kidnapped. The next time you see her, she's at a bank with either a machine gun or a shotgun robbing the bank. She had been
Hmm.
brainwashed. She had been brainwashed. Okay. I give you that extreme example because I want to tell you that every human being can be convinced of something. Every human being. Now, this is not what I'm telling you from my own theory. This is what I've learned from some of the greatest trial lawyers in the country of
Mm,
all history.
mm.
Okay. So every
Mm.
human being can be convinced of something. So and that's why I tell people these cases are won outside the courtroom.
Okay. And then my last question is, if this person, first say this person gets guardianship, but I still have some kind of say. So am I now, when this person gets guardianship, am I dealing with visitation through this person, or is it still going through court, CPS, whatever? I don't understand. Like, so the person gets guardianship, so they're going to be able to tell me when I can see my child instead of the court, or I
Yeah,
don't know.
because when you become the legal guardian, you basically are parenting the child. You make all
Uh,
the decisions. Now you still have parental rights, but it's kind of like a hollow victory. You're still the mother, but you don't have any say as to discipline, education, sports, schooling. That's all in the purview of, the legal guardian.
so that I would have to go to the court and do like the visitation thing, just like as if it was her dad. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. When at least in California, when they issue a guardianship order, they also issue a visitation order. Now, if you want to
Okay,
add or detract from that order, you'll have to go back to court. And
that's what I was asking.
In California, you'd have to file like a 388.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
I think that pretty much covers everything.
Well, Tracy, listen, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight, sharing your story. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best. If you have any further questions, call Miss G or call me anytime. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Tracy. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, Miss G, we're coming towards the end of the show. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask me?
No, no questions.
Okay. Let me see if there were any questions that were posted. We got a flurry of questions and comments on the different social medias. A lot of comments, but no questions. Okay.
No.
All right. So we'll be on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I want to thank everybody for watching this evening. If you have any questions or if you want to talk to me or Miss G, 888-888-6582. All right, Miss G, thank you for joining me tonight, being co-host. It's been a pleasure. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good night, everyone.